Hi friends, it's Heather with Running with Scissors. Today we are going to paint I think it is the fifth design. It is the flower, the spring flower. I think it's design number 5, but it's our second quarter box. So that is your December box with your January delivery, right? So this is the second quarter. And you saw in the opening how it turned out painted. And just a reminder, if you're new to us and you have not painted with us before, we actually paint the finished product that you see at the beginning of the video is what we're painting during the tutorial. So I don't paint 2 of them, I only paint 1. And sometimes they don't turn out exactly like I envision them in my head, but we just kind of roll with it. Okay, so that's kind of how you have to tackle all of these projects. Just roll with it. All right, so these are the paint colors I plan on using, but once again, I haven't painted this yet, so we shall see what happens. I plan on using all Apple Barrel colors today. I just have a white and a black. You can use any white, any black. I also have Apple Barrel Red Apple, but of course any red will do. That is to paint our ladybug. I have Lime Tree and Parakeet and Christmas Green. So Christmas Green, Parakeet, and Lime Tree. These are my 3 greens I'm going to use. That is my plan. I have yellow, just plain old Apple Barrel yellow, and have Apple Barrel Caribbean, and then I have Apple Barrel Harvest Orange. Now you can use any orange that you want, and you can use any kind of aqua color that you want. And of course you could use any yellow that you want. Now this flower can be pretty universal when it comes to colors. So if you don't want to use the colors we used, then feel free to use any colors that you want to use. I tried to get a purple in here, but I don't think that I can get a purple in here. Of course, this is basically like, I guess like a daisy, but instead of a yellow center, my plan is to do the Caribbean center with lighter Caribbean colored dots on it, and then yellow or white petals, but faded from a yellow, okay? So yellow fading down into a white. That is my plan. We shall see how it turns out. Now, you're going to want 2 water cups as always, some paper towel. You'll need a paper plate to put your paint colors on. Baby wipes are always handy. We are going to use our daubers today, our foam daubers. So if you got one of the kits, you got these. If you did not get a kit, you should add these to your arsenal of Dashing Door painting supplies. You can get these, we buy them online wholesale, but I know that you can get them at like the dollar store as well. I am using the 2 medium-sized ones. So I'm gonna use this one for the flower center and this one for my ladybug dots. And we're also gonna use the opposite end for our ladybug dots as well. I believe you have another one in your kit in the pack that comes that is a lot smaller than this one. I happen to not know where mine is at the moment, so I'm just going to use the other end. Okay, now you also have a bag of ribbons, and at this time, these are the ribbons that are in there. We have the stripy one, we have orange, we have a turquoise, and then we have a yellow. And then we have a door hanger jute, and you'll see there's a little tiny glue in there to glue the ladybug on. And you also have a word. I put in spring. You can barely see it on the camera, but that is the word spring. I thought about welcome, and if I don't absolutely love the spring by the time we're done making this, I may include the word welcome template for you as well. So we'll see how that pans out. And then I also have a piece of white graphite paper. Now this is like a chalk transfer paper because in one of the other videos that I did using the carbon transfer paper on a light color painted surface, like on white, was kind of hard to cover with the paint markers and the paint, and I didn't want you to have those same issues. So we switched over to a white graphite paper. Now you will notice when we start using this that this is not as easy to see as the black graphite paper, of course, but it's much better than trying to cover up a smeared black transfer. So we are going to make that work. All right, we are going to get started painting. Okay, on my paper plate, I have white, which you can't really see. I have quite a bit of it because I have to paint my whole flower white. I have lime tree green. This is going to be the lightest green that I'm using today. And we're going to paint our leaf and our stem with that light green first. And then I also put yellow on my plate right now because I want to incorporate yellow into the white here. And I don't want this dark of a yellow, so I'm going to add a little bit of it to my white. And I'm going to just kind of blend that in. That is the plan. So I'm going to start with an angle brush as always, and I'm going to start with my number 12 because that's what I have available. And I am going to paint my daisy first. So I'm just going to get my daisy covered first. Remember to get all the bumpers picked up, okay? Don't leave the bumpers. Now, if you plan on painting your center yellow, like told you I'm going to use that Caribbean to paint my center, but if you want to paint it yellow, go ahead and paint it white first. Save yourself this step of tracing around it, okay? So if you want to paint this yellow, you can paint it white first to save yourself cutting in. Plus a foundation of white helps yellow show up better. So once you do that cutting in with your angle brush, if you want to switch over to your 1-inch filler brush, you can do that. I'm going to stay with my angle brush. Just because I have a number 12 and it's pretty wide. I don't feel like I need to use the filler brush. Okay, so my flower is going to need a second coat, but I want to make sure that it's all dry before I put that second coat on. So I'm just going to go ahead and take out as much paint from my brush as I can right onto my flower in some spots that I know that are dry. And then I'm going to put my brush in the water cup. And I'm going to do my initial rinse in 1 cup and then my final rinse in the second cup. This is a great practice to have when you're painting door hangers to increase the life of your brushes. Get them rinsed out right away, dry them off on your paper towel, and then just let them lay flat. Okay, now I'm gonna move on to the stem and the leaves, and once again, I'm just gonna paint that with my my lime tree green. And I'm going to grab another angle brush. This time I'm going to grab my number 11. You can use your number 12 that you were just using if it's cleaned out enough. And I am going to just cut in and then fill in. And this is quite a bit to fill, so if you wanted to switch over to your filler, your 1-inch filler brush, you could do that. Now, to get up into the middle here, you may need a smaller angle brush or even a liner brush. I'm just going to take my number 3 angle And I'm just gonna get right up in there. Okay, so I am going to just get the rest of my paint out of my brush here, and I am going to switch over to my 1-inch filler. There's a lot of space to cover here, so it will just be smarter to switch. See, I just work out all that paint. There's no sense in putting all that paint into your water coat. While I wait for my stem and my leaves to dry, I'm going to come back and I'm going to get that second coat put on my white. And then as soon as I got that second coat on, I'm going to start with fading in that lighter yellow that we talked about. We are going to let the second coat of white dry, and while we wait for that to dry, we're going to mix up our yellow and our white. So I just want to take very little bit of yellow and mix it into what white I have left on my plate. If you need more white, grab more white. It takes more of the white than it does of the color to make the light color, okay? Okay, because I used all of my white, I am going to put a little bit of more white on my plate right here. That's just in case I get too much yellow onto my white and I want to grab a little bit more white to do the fade in here. All right, we're going to take a break for just a second to let this dry the rest of the way, and then we'll be back to start it. Okay, so our white is dry, and we're going to start the fade in to the petal from the center of the flower. So what I'm going to do is just brush some of my white, or my light yellow paint from the center of the flower out. And I'm using my number 12 angle brush, but you can use whatever brush you want to do. I like the angle brush because I'm able to get right up next to my score lines. Now, as I'm pulling my paint down, I'm going to grab the tiniest little bit of white on my brush. Just a tiny little bit. You just see the little tip of that there. And I'm going to come back down to where I started to pull down, so about 3/4 of an inch away from the center of the flower. And I'm just going to start pulling and blending that little bit of white in because I want that yellow to start blending out until it's like really pale. Okay, that's really close. See? I'll never get the camera, I'm sorry. All right, so we're gonna do that again. So we're gonna make sure that the paint we have in the yellow is wet, because that's how it works to blend. You can't blend on dry. And I'm gonna put a little bit of white on the tip of my brush. And then I'm gonna pull down about 3/4 of an inch down. And I'm just very lightly, brushing. Okay. And I'm gonna keep doing that. So once again, I'm grabbing more of my pale yellow. I'm getting that wet again, then I'm grabbing a little bit of my white and I'm gonna pull down. Okay, now don't keep swiping until you're drying your paint, because as your paint gets dry and you keep swiping on it, you're gonna start dragging clumps of paint, and you don't wanna do that, so. Then you decide how far out you wanna go. Oh yeah, like that. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing that all the way around. Alright, I think that turned out pretty darn good. Alright, there you go. That is our white fade, or yellow faded into our white there. Alright, I'm gonna rinse that brush, and I'm gonna put another coat of my lime tree green on my flower stem and my leaves. Second coat on my stem and my leaves, and we are going to let that dry. While that dries, we're going to move on to the ladybug up here. Stop. I'm about to make a mistake here. I paint the ladybug on my door hanger instead of the loose piece that gets glued onto the door hanger. While this is not a huge mistake, or maybe not a mistake at all, you can choose how you want to do this. Either you can paint the included piece and glue it on so you have more of a 3D piece, or you can go ahead and follow the video and paint it like I do. Now, I don't catch this mistake until the very end, so I do go back and explain it later. And we are going to paint our ladybug, the little bit of the body red, and then we're going to paint the head black, okay? So I'm going to use a small brush for each one of those. And I am going to use, I'm going to shoot for a number 5. All right, I'm going to settle for a number 6. So I'm going to put a little bit of red on my plate and a little bit of black on my plate. And first I'm going to paint the red. All right, we're gonna let that first coat dry for our ladybug body. But while we wait for that to dry, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna paint the head. And we're gonna paint the head black. And I'm using the same brush, I just rinsed it out real quick. And I'm gonna paint the antenna black as well. All right, so you just have to decide if you want a round head or if you want your ladybug head to come like down straight from the curve into the body, and just go ahead and draw it in there with your paint and your paintbrush however you want it. My ladybug's gonna have a round head like that. Some people like to bring their heads down more so it circles around and comes straight down to the body. I want a very rounded, pronounced ladybug head. All right, we're gonna let that dry, but we're gonna go back and we're gonna get a coat put on our ladybug body again because that's ready. So I'm just gonna clean my brush out, and we're gonna come and just give this another coat. coat on our head and our antenna. Okay, that's it for our ladybug for now. We have to let him dry all the way before we can put his pretty little spots on him. So we are going to move into our stem. Okay, so now our stem and our leaves. So as long as your stem and your leaves are dry, we will start working on them. Okay, so now I am going to use some of the parakeet green, and some of the Christmas green. And I'm also going to use, a rounded brush, and I'm gonna guess it's gonna be about a number 4 or 5. Okay, so I have both a number 4 and a number 5. So I'm going to start with the number 5, and I'm going to use the parakeet green first. Now, what I'm planning on doing is just putting some swirls into the center of my leaves, and some half circles here, lines basically on my stem. And then I'm going to outline my leaves a little bit as well. And then I'm going to incorporate that Christmas green color in on top of it, just to give some different color. But first we're going to work with the center of the stem here. And we are just going to make little half swipes like this. And we're going to fill them in about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch, okay, in thickness, so from top to bottom. It's going to be pretty subtle, but now this will dry a little darker. All right, I'm not going to worry if it's like filled in solid. You can see some of my lime green here in the middle coming through from its base coat, and that's okay. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to move down about an inch, and I'm going to do it again. And once again, I'm going to do it about, I said half an inch to start, but I'm more like 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick here. Try to pick up those bumpers, smooth them out. All right, and I'm just going to keep working down my stem like this. You see, I did not trace it first. I did not make myself any lines to follow. So that's about as many as I can fit in there. I could come up here and do a little, I'll come up here and do a little bit of one as well. Just have to be a little bit more careful up here. All right. Okay, so now I'm still using the same brush, still using the same paint. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna start a swirl, and I'm just gonna make one big, let me draw it for you. I already know what I'm gonna do. It's in my head. I'm gonna do this. Start here, up, just like that. Okay. All right, so then of course I ran out of paint there on my brush. It's not gonna make it all the way, but I wanted to at least try to get an outline there, because in one swoop, because if you don't, then it will look like you tried too hard. All right, so even if you run out of paint, just keep on going. And then you can come back in like I'm doing now and just fill that in. I'm using a number 5 brush, which is kind of a, when on a rounded brush, it's kind of poofy if your brush is well loved. If your brush is not well loved yet, it's probably got a nice fine shape to it, so you might have to thicken it up, okay? All right, we're gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm just gonna get some paint in my brush and I'm just gonna go for it. All right, I did my swirl a little differently on that one, that's okay. Actually, I like this swirl better. And then just come back in and get that line thickened up. Okay. Now I'm just gonna go around the outside of my leaves, and I'm gonna swipe down the sides of my stem a little bit, but I am going to change brushes. Okay, so same brush, we're just going to swipe around the outside edges of our leaves. Once again, try to do that all in one motion. And then if you need to go back, you can go back and add. Okay, same thing on this side. We're gonna swipe down. Now we are gonna stop because we are gonna hit our petals if we don't, but otherwise we're gonna keep going. On this side, we're gonna grab it and we're just gonna pull it all the way down until it hits the stem. If you got bumpers, clean your bumpers up. Okay, clean up my bumpers. And then now we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna turn my brush sideways though, because I don't want the full width of my brush on this one. You can change brushes to a smaller brush if you want to, like a 3 or a 4. And I'm gonna swipe down the sides of my stem. Okay. All right, so that's it for this color. Now I'm gonna switch over to the darker Christmas green, okay? I'm going to change brushes at this point. I do want to move down to a 3 or a 4, and I want a less poofy brush. So if your rounded number 5 is well loved like mine is, you're gonna wanna switch down to a brush that is less well loved. This is still a number 4, but you can see the bristles aren't separated quite yet because it has not been smooshed in water 5 million times. So this one is a little less loved. Okay, so a little bit of that Christmas green. And now we're just going back over top of what we did with the parakeet green, but we're not gonna hit it as hard, okay? So like here, I'm just gonna do a swipe. Guys, I'm not really thinking too much into what I'm doing here. Now I know I wanna put some dots in here and stuff, so actually, let's do where I want my dots before I do the swipe. Okay, I'm going to take a number 5 brush that has the thicker point on the end because I'm going to use the point. And I'm going to use my Christmas green, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to make some dots. I'm going to have to widen them out though because this end is definitely not as big as I want it to be. And my dots are going to be about the same size. So I'm just swirling it in a circle, and I'm going to make 3 dots. I'm going to do that in a couple of places. On this particular leaf, I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to do it at the top there, and then I'm going to come down here and do it. And I wanted to stop and do these dots first because I don't want to paint swipes of green underneath the dots. So I wanted to get the dots in there first. Okay, now we're gonna come over here and we're gonna do it down here, but that's gonna be the only place on this leaf that we do it. Now your dots will take a long time to dry because they're heavy paint. So if you want to hit them with a hairdryer, you probably should. All right, this one has to be made a little bit bigger. Okay, now we can finish with our green. All right, so back to this. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to finish out this line with some of that green. And then I'm going to take my swipe here on the side, come down to the dots. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. You see that one okay? I'm going to come all the way down and around. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing in the swirlies. I'm not going to hit those really hard though. I just want a couple of swipes. And then of course we're gonna hit this stem the same way. We're gonna hit our top and bottom of our darker stripes. Okay, and then we're gonna come down the sides. Okay. All right. right, that looks pretty good to me. I like that. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse that brush off. And while we wait for all that green to dry, I'm gonna come back up here and we're gonna work on the spots of our ladybug. So I'm going to take my dauber right here. This is probably about a 1/2 inch dauber. And I'm going to put it in my black paint. Now I might not have enough black paint on my plate because these daubers soak up quite a bit. So remember just to soak that in there. You don't want to pool under it. And then you're going to come down. If you've got a scrap piece of paper, that's always fantastic because you can cover up what you don't want to get paint on. Okay, so with my dauber, I'm just going to press and hold and twist. And that gives me my dot. Press and hold and twist. Press and hold and twist. Okay, that's it for those 3, but I'm not done with the spots. Oh, Heather. I got a little paint on my flowers, so we're gonna take a baby wipe real quick and get that off if we can. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take that dauber, and this time I'm going to use the stick end of it. And I want a couple of smaller dots on my ladybug. So we're just going to mark those in. You can use the end of a paintbrush as well. Okay, there's that. And then that dauber goes in the water bucket. All right, ladybug done. Now we gotta paint the center. Oh no, you guys, did you see what I did? I messed my greens up. That's where that paint came from when I pulled my paper off. So I gotta clean this up real quick. Okay, so I forgot that we had the ladybug overlay piece for the flower. And I did put a blurb in the video when I edited to let you know that if you wanted to use the overlay piece to not paint this while I was doing it on the video, but you can also use this instead of painting it on this. I'm going to walk you through painting this. It's going to be the same way that we did that guy, but I'm actually not going to put mine on in the end because I already painted it there and I really like it. So there's that. Okay. So you'll notice that mine doesn't have the hole drilled in it for the hanger. Yours will come with the hole drilled, so don't worry about that. It's just my video. Remember, we always gotta work out the kinks when we do the videos, so this is just one of those things. But you're gonna paint this guy the same way that we painted that guy, and I'll paint him real quick so you can see how to do them. But that's what that pop-up is all about, because I totally forgot we had this piece. So let's paint this guy real quick. My paint is almost dried up on my plate, so I'm going to get some fresh stuff. So we're just gonna paint the body painting him with our red paint. Any red is fine, you guys choose. He'll need 2 coats, but while we wait for that one to set up for a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint his black head. Now I am rounding my head. You can do yours however you want to. Okay, let's put another coat on our red body here. Okay, and we have to put his dots on his belly or on his body, but we have to wait for him to dry. So we're gonna give him a minute to dry and then we'll be back to do the dots. Okay, so our ladybug body is dry. So just like you saw me do the first time, I'm gonna take that to medium size. It's actually like, I think the second size up. 3 sizes down from the largest, if that helps at all. And we're just gonna make our dots. Now we won't need to cover anything with the paper because this isn't touching anything. So I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna put the dots in the same spot that I did on the door hanger itself in my stupidity. And okay, and then I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna use the other side to put some other dots on, some smaller dots. You know, don't forget yours will have a hanger hole, so just avoid that little hanger hole there. Okay, and then we're just gonna let that guy dry, so we're gonna set him off to the side. He still needs a little bit of highlighting and stuff, but we're gonna wait to the very end for that. Now, when we started this video, I told you orange was going to be in my arsenal, and I also said I wasn't sure what all colors I would end up using, but I am not going to use orange after all. I think I had it in my head that orange would look cute in this, in the center, and that's why I selected the orange ribbons, but I think I'm gonna just go with the teal. I thought about putting orange dots, when I say teal, I mean the Caribbean. I thought about putting orange dots on the Caribbean, but I feel like orange on this particular shade of aqua or teal kind of makes it look psychedelic, like the dots are lifting right up off of it. So I decided not to do that. But I'm not gonna change my ribbons because I still like getting some color, some orange color into this. So we're just gonna keep that. So things change, right? I mean, that's just one of those things. I don't think I've ever started a project where I did not change it. Okay, so the first thing that's gonna happen is I'm going to put 2 coats of paint on this, and I'm gonna use the paint straight from the container color, not mixing. What I mean is I'm not gonna mix it down. So this is the Caribbean, and I'm just going to fill in this center with that Caribbean. I'm gonna let it dry and I'm gonna put another coat on it. And then I'm gonna take what's left of the Caribbean on my plate and I'm gonna add white. And I'm going to mix that down so it's really pale. And then I'm gonna put dots in the center of it. Maybe not really pale, maybe really pale is a stretch. I want it like a little bit lighter than the color straight. I want my dots to be subtle. So I am using an angle brush. This is a number 4, nope, it's number 6. Number 6 angle brush. You could probably use a number 8 or even a number 10 here. But this is what I grabbed. Okay, this is my first coat. I'm gonna let this dry and I'm gonna put a second coat on it, and then we'll be back after we've got our second coat on and our second coat is dry. If you get your second coat dry and you feel like it needs a third, go ahead and put a third on it and get it dry, and then meet me back here and we'll do the next step. Okay, we're back and our flower center is dry. I do have some white paint on my plate and a little bit of my Caribbean left over. Remember, it takes a lot more white than it does of the color to make a lighter color. So I'm just gonna grab some of that Caribbean and mix it into my white here. Now I'm not going for a super light shade, so I know I'm gonna need more of the color than what I grabbed, but it's a lot easier to just grab a little bit more at a time than it is to try and go backwards. It is convenient to mix paint with your paint brushes. However, it will break your paint brushes down a lot easier. So if you have a popsicle stick or something else to mix your paint with, it's probably better to use that, even the other end of your paintbrush, because this breaks your bristles down. Yet here I am doing it. Okay, I'm actually probably just gonna go ahead and use all of that color that I had. Okay, that's what we're gonna go with. I'm gonna get most of that paint out of that brush and throw it in my water. Now I'm using this size. This is about a 1 1/4. About a 1 1/4. I'm only gonna have one whole circle on my flower center, and it's gonna be right in the center. And then the rest of them are gonna be around the outside edges. And we are gonna need a piece of scrap paper for that. I'm just gonna use my Word template. And I'll probably have to fill in a little bit with a brush. Okay, so get your paint on your pouncer. And then right in the middle is gonna be my first one. I'm gonna push down and twist. Okay, and then I'm going to put my paper over. Don't drag your paper through your wet paint like I continue to want to do today. Okay. Now, you won't be able to cover it perfectly because it is rounded, so just remember you're gonna have to go back and you're gonna have to fill those in. But that's okay, I know that I'm going to have to. All right, and then at the top, we don't have to worry about covering anything because there's nothing there to cover. And then over here as well. Right, and then I'm just gonna take a brush. I'm gonna take a small, fine brush. I'm gonna take a number 3 angle, a number 3 angle. And I'm just gonna fill in the spots that I missed by covering it with the paper. Now my paint marker will cover a lot of this, but it only takes a second to come patch it up. This one probably wouldn't get covered by the paint marker, so we're gonna make sure we come in here and get it. Now, if you don't have a pouncer, you can do these by hand. It is easy to do circles by hand. They might not be perfect circles, but you'll get better the more that you do them. This one's kind of not filled in the greatest, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, we're gonna let those dry. We are not putting a second coat on those. Not putting a second coat. Okay, everything is dry now, so we are going to get our word put on. If you happen to not want to put your word on, by all means, don't put your word on. You have both spring and welcome to choose from, and right now I'm just cutting off the excess paper of my word because I used my paper to block off some paint, so it's kind of full of paint and I don't want to get it on my project. Okay. So this guy can go either on the flower itself, on the petals, or it can go down here on the leaves. You decide where you want to put it. Okay, that's up to you. If you put it down here on the leaves, you're probably going to have to use a white marker to put the word in because the black probably won't show up the greatest on that. If you want to put it up here on the daisy, then which is what I'm going to do, then I'm going to use a black marker for that. So I can use my black graphite paper because the white won't show up. Okay, the white won't show up. So initially I said that you got a piece of white graphite paper. I'm gonna make sure you have both black and both white in case you decide to paint. Maybe you painted your daisy flower purple or whatever. I want to make sure that you have both colors in there. All right, so my welcome is going to be black. I am going to flip this around just so it's closer to me. And I am going to find out where I'm going to put my spring. All right, I'm gonna put it right there. I'm just gonna hold it in place and slip the graphite paper underneath it so I don't have to continuously guess to make sure that I have it in the right spot. Now, I'm not gonna put too much pressure on the graphite paper because I don't want it to transfer onto my white flower just from me pushing on it in places with my fingers. We're gonna use our scribe or our stylus or an embosser, whatever you guys wanna call it. And we are just going to gently but firmly trace around all of these letters. All right, I believe I've missed some areas, so I am just gonna be sure before I lift anything up. I'm gonna pick this up and flip it back and see what I missed. Okay, so all right, we look good. We're gonna lift that off of there. All right, so now we are going to take our number 5 Posca pen, or you can even use your number 7 if you want to. But I like to use my number 5. And we're gonna fill all of this in. First we're gonna outline and then we're gonna fill. Now you see right here where my G kind of dipped down below on my flower petal because I probably had my word a little crooked. I didn't have it up high enough, but that's okay. I'm good with that. I'm not gonna stress that at all. So now I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna fill this all in. I'm not changing pens. I'm gonna stay with my number 5. Okay, there is my word all done and filled in. So now we're gonna do all of our highlighting. So I'm going to end up using a white paint marker in the medium, so the number 5. And I'm going to use my number 7 black, my number 3 black, and my number 5 black. I probably will end up using a number 3 white as well. Okay, so if you used your ladybug separate piece, you're gonna wanna do the same thing I do to my ladybug that's painted on there as you do to your separate piece. I am not gonna put my separate piece on. 1, because I already painted this guy, and 2, because I didn't have the hole drilled. So this guy doesn't do me any good. So I'm just going to do what I'm gonna do right on my piece. I'm going to start with my number 3 white pen. And I'm gonna give the ladybug some eyes and a mouth. And I'm going to give her some other white highlighting. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so she got just some white around her body up top there. I am going to go just one swipe across the bottom. You might not even end up seeing it because I am going to come across that with black. Her head is going to get some swipes as well. And so is her antenna. Now I am going to give her a mouth like that. And she is going to get an, oh, you guys can't even see that. Sorry about that. Okay, I am going to give her a mouth, which is just a half line in my little, like her little dimple area there. And I did come just around the top of her head with a little bit of white and through her antenna, and I did like a little squiggly on that antenna, like a little swirl. Okay, so then she's going to get an eye and some lashes. So I'm gonna give her, let's see, not quite round, more of an oval, and we're gonna put some lashes on her. Oh, she looks like a spider. Let me fix that. Her eye looks like a spider. Okay, we're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna come back and fix that because I don't love it. Okay, so for my white marker, my number 7 or my number 3, I'm not gonna use that anymore right now. While I let my mess up on her little eyelashes dry, I'm going to come in with my number 5, okay, my number 5 white, and I'm going to come around these circles just a little bit, okay? I'm going to come around these circles just a little bit. Just like that. I'm going to hit this one another swipe. All right, so that's all I'm going to do with those. Now for the most of my white that I want to do, I'm going to do that after I do my black because I like the white to show up over top of the black. Well, let's see if we can't fix this girl's eye real quick. Okay, so there's her rounded eye. Oval. It's more of an oval. And now I'm just going to do, let's just do 2 lashes like that. See if that's better. It's hard doing it sideways. Nope, I don't like it like that either. I'm gonna put one more in there. Okay, well, we're gonna leave that. I don't love her lashes. I thought they were gonna look different, but they don't. That's what they look like. Don't love her lashes. Okay. Keeping on moving. We're gonna keep moving. Now for each of these petals, I'm going to take my black marker and I'm gonna do a swoop through them. Okay, all the way around. I'm gonna do a swoop through them. I am going to outline the head of the flower. I'm not gonna try to mess too much in here, even though I really want to, because my word is over top of it, and I feel like if I do too much, it might blend together, and I might end up hating it. So I probably won't do too much there. We'll see. I always change my mind. Yeah, see, I think I'm changing my mind. I think I'm gonna go ahead and come through there. We're gonna see how it ends up drying up. I think it's gonna be fine. Okay, I'm gonna hit the just inside the edges, and I'm just doing a swoop around. Okay. Just like that, just a swoop around. And do the same thing on both of these. And on this one as well. All right, we're gonna come over and we're gonna do those last two. Notice I'm not caring whether or not my points are touching here. I'm gonna stop at my leaf and I'm gonna pick up on the other side of it. Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to do the outside edge of my leaves and my stem. Now I'm not right on the edge. I'm a little bit in. I'm gonna hit this leaf first and then I'll go back and do the other one. Let's see what I'm missing here. Looks pretty good, looks pretty good. Okay, let's see, what else am I gonna do to this guy? I'm gonna put some little swirlies in here. I'm going to use my very fine black marker for that. This is a number 3, and when I'm done, I may come over top of this with a white marker. We'll see. I am going to put some more white in down here, but I like to do all of the black first. So let's see what I do here, what I can do here. All right, I'm going to do curly cues. And here, let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a small, a large, and then a small. So I'm going to start. I wish you guys could see better. My hand always gets in the way. Small, large, small. Okay, I do these a lot. I like them. Over here, so. Okay, I'm gonna bring this over just a little bit. Got a lot going on there. That looks okay. Let's see where else I need to add some in. Black, I think I'm done with black. I'm gonna come a swipe just across here. So if you guys are putting that overlay on, you don't need to worry about that at all. And I think I'm gonna come around the outside of the ladybug body with my black marker. I'm trying to keep it semi close to the edge. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, I'm gonna come in with my fine white marker. That is your number 3 if you have it. I was thinking I was gonna go over top of these curly cues with the white. I'm not sure that I really want to. I almost want to try it, but I don't want to hate it, you know what I mean? So let me be your guinea pig. We're gonna try one and see if we like it. And if we don't, then I'm gonna come back over top of it and fix it. And you'll know whether or not you should do it. Oh, see, already I don't like it. Oh, maybe I do. Okay, so I kind of like this because it's toning that black down so it's not so prominent, which wasn't what I initially had in my head, but now I like it. So I'm gonna do it. So here's what's gonna happen if you guys do it. It's gonna take and make your black look more gray, right? So if you wanna do that, then by all means do it. And if you don't, then don't. Oh yeah, I'm glad I took a chance on that because I really do like it. All right, nice. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come down in the leaf and I want to put a little white in here. I don't want to go crazy with it, but I do want to put some white highlights in. So I'm just going to do a little thin swipe there and the same here. I'm going to come down and around, but first I'm going to come in here. And then I'm going to come around. I'm going to come and do just some swipes across. I'm not going to go down. I'm just going to do some across. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here in my circle center there, my swirl there. And then along the edges of the leaves. And then I'm going to add a curly cue here, right? So, and then maybe one up here. Okay. All right, now let's see. I feel like I need to do a little something to my word. So let's hit the highs and tie dot there. Okay. Am I happy? All right, there we go. Now I'm happy. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do anything else. Okay, if you did your ladybug, and if you haven't glued them yet, now you're gonna wanna take your glue and you're gonna glue them. He'll line right up with the other one. All right, give him a nice place to glue to. All right. All right, then we're gonna work on our cluster. And putting on our hanger. So let's build our cluster. Your bag, you have 2 zip ties. One might be smaller than the other. If one is smaller than the other, make sure that you use the longest one to cinch all your ribbons together. All right, you have this section of ribbon, and it's a long section, and it's already folded. You're gonna keep it folded in half, and then you're gonna fold up on it like a taco. You're gonna cut from the folded side up and out to the corner. Same thing on the other side. Fold it from the fold up and out to the corner. Now you've got these guys as well. And I think I'm gonna do something a little different. Instead of doing a dovetail, I think I'm gonna do the opposite. Okay, so if you don't like this, you don't have to do this. So wait and see how mine turns out to make sure that you like it instead of following along. So I'm taking all 3 of my ribbons and still folding them up like a taco. But instead of cutting from the folded up and out, I'm gonna cut from the folded up and in to make them into a point. And I will show you what that looks like. Folded up and in. And so then that looks like that. And so what's gonna happen here is we're gonna take our X of our big ribbons, and then we're just going to lay these ribbons in here where we want them. And I think I want mine to look like that, right? So my 2 large ribbons make the X, then my small orange and my small yellow make the overlay X, and then I'm gonna put the teal one right across the middle of all of them. Just like that. And I'll pick them up and I'm gonna cinch a zip tie around all of them. Not gonna cinch it down quite tight yet. I'm just gonna cinch it a little, and then I'm gonna pull these ribbons up and flatten them, make sure that they're all in the middle, that the zip tie is in the middle. And then before I get it all the way tight, I'm gonna slide that smaller zip tie through, right through that zip tie hole there, that's cinching it all down. And then I'm gonna cinch it tight and trim that off. Okay. And there you have your cluster. Now we're gonna take our hanger and you're gonna feed both ends through the hole in your ladybug and the hole in your flower, in your flower petal. And now it gets fed to the back, and you're gonna grab both of those ends and line them up and pinch them and pull them up. And then make this as long as you want your hanger to be. Okay, as long as you want that to be. And then pinch the loose strands right at the top. Okay, and then you're just gonna take those 2 loose strands where you got it pinched, and you're gonna tie an overhand knot in them. Right where you pinched it. And then you'll trim those strands off. And then we just move the knot to the back of one of the holes and even your strands out. And then you're gonna take your cluster, and you're gonna take the zip tie and you're gonna wrap it around both pieces of jute on one side, okay? And then tighten that down. And you can move it up as high or as low as you want it. We're gonna bring ours up just a little bit so it doesn't get in the middle of our word. You want that spring to show. And then we're gonna trim. And then you have your spring flower door hanger. Oh, yep, I like that orange ribbon in there, even though I didn't put any orange paint in there, just because it gives it that pop of orange color, which is great for spring. And that's it. All right. Okay, if you have any questions, be sure to let us know. Otherwise, we hope you enjoyed this door hanger. All right. If you have any questions, be sure to let us know. You can reach out to us on Facebook, you can text us, or you can send us an email. We're happy to help you through any of these door hanger paintings if you should need it. Thanks, everyone.